Welcome back, my friends, to another Brotato class guide. Hope you're all doing well. Today we're covering the Masochist. So how the Masochist works is that you have minus 100% damage. You will not be able to deal any damage, or more accurately, your damage will be set to exactly 1 on every attack. Except, whenever you take damage, you gain 5% damage until the end of the wave. So if you have taken 20 hits that wave, you do the same damage as a normal character. If you've taken 40 hits, you do double damage, and so on. You get 10 max HP, 20 HP regeneration, and 8 armor to keep you alive. The natural way to build this character, of course, is with a lot of defensive stats. So in fact, I think that the best weapon for this character, which I will just mention really quick, is the spiky shield. This is an excellent weapon, great on everybody. I just mentioned in my unlock order guide that you should win with the Masochist early on to unlock the spiky shield. It would be excellent for this character, starting with a base of 8 bonus damage from the armor, but I haven't yet showcased a build using medical or precise weapons on my guides, so we're going to go with the scissors. The scissors also have a ton of synergy with this character. I think precise builds are really fun, and so this is one that I want to show because the Masochist, I think, is a character that's powerful enough that you have multiple options for different weapon types. So you could definitely use the spiky shield, and I think that's probably the easiest way to win, but for this build, I'm going to go with the scissors. So immediately I need to walk into all the enemies to make sure I'm tanking many hits, and then once we've taken a lot of hits, our attacks will start actually killing stuff. Scissors have 40% base lifesteal, so we gain our health back really quickly. Notice that every attack from enemies is dealing 1 damage, that's because we have 8 armor. Here I'm just going to go with Harvesting. Obviously, when you get Harvesting early in your first wave, it's particularly good to grab it because it will start stacking up. Something that's really important to note on this class is when the elites are going to show up. We have one on wave 12. That should be good for us, and it's all elites, which will be slightly harder than hordes, because, of course, the thing that kills this class is taking large damage instances. Let's roll again, and we're looking for more scissors. Grab those, and roll again, looking for more scissors. I'll lock the coupon. And finally roll one more time, and one more time, and we got scissors, and we get to lock a bag as well. So 2 great economy items. That's really nice to see early. Medical weapons, of course, give you additional health regeneration, and the scissors have the natural lifesteal. They have 40% native lifesteal, so that will help keep us alive while we are taking additional damage from all these enemies. In the early game, I'm playing this much like the Bull, which if you watch my guide on that, you remember that we ran straight into all the enemies to try to trigger the Bull's passive. It's the same with the Masochist. We are going to have a little bit of trouble having enough economy early, so getting that early harvesting was good, and I'm actually going to roll once here just to see if we can find one more harvesting. If we don't, that's okay, but I'll just grab the luck. Here, I'm just going to keep upgrading scissors, and we'll keep rolling, looking for more scissors. Got it, and we have exactly enough to roll once more, and we can lock in a 6th pair of scissors, which is perfect. That will get us 15% critical chance, and the medical weapons will give us 5 HP regeneration, putting us up to 25, which is a very respectable amount of regeneration. Even though we'll be deliberately damaging ourselves, we won't need to build too much more healing for a while. Running straight into all these enemies, and much like with the Bull, I think it's really good on this character to watch your health in the corner rather than over your character. It makes it easier to track how much damage you're taking, in my opinion. So pay attention to sort of the ebb and flow of your life total more than you pay attention to the positioning of enemies and so on. Here I'm just going to take the 8% damage. I mean, just because we start with minus 100% doesn't mean we can't just build damage, and that's fewer hits we have to take to get to a normal amount. Range is actually quite good on scissors normally, but for this character, I think we're going to roll past this and see if we can get something a little better. And here I'm just going to actually take this harvesting. It's level 1 as opposed to these level 2s, but we want to get to 20 harvesting as soon as we can. Buy the coupon, buy the bag, buy the scissors, roll again. And definitely picking up some max HP, that's really important. And of course, melee damage is really important as well. It does decrease our crit chance, but the flat melee damage is going to be really critical because we will be multiplying that quite a bit thanks to our passive. Let's go on to the next wave. The way to think about this character mostly is that you have a slow start every wave, but will end up much more powerful than other characters once you've taken a little damage. So it's a little bit difficult to keep your economy going because you don't get the influx of killed enemies at the beginning of the round. Where another character gets to start killing right away, you suffer a little bit economically because you don't get to start killing until later in the round. But you also start with tons of defensive stats, so that kind of makes up for the low armor a little bit. Or the low economy a little bit. Here I'm just going to grab this max HP. We want armor as well, but max HP is super important for this character and allows you to play much more aggressively in terms of taking damage. Buy this, and roll again. Nothing here that we want. Crit chance would be really... Actually, never mind. The claw tree is good, because we are trying to build crit chance, of course. And then I'm going to roll again. Metal is one of the best things that we could find for this character, even though it decreases our crit chance. The armor, max HP, and damage are all great. Peaceful Bee is also pretty good. Dodge, much like for the Bull, dodge is quite good for this character, even though you might think it isn't. But what we need is to increase our effective HP as much as possible, so even though we are intentionally taking damage, we still want to build dodge because that's one of the ways that you can increase your effective HP the most. And of course I will upgrade the scissors. That brings the lifesteal chance up to 45%, so it's a pretty massive upgrade to once you have those all upgraded, you'll be gaining way more HP way quicker. Notice that I took a lot of damage, so I back off just a little bit from the enemies. And now that we have 7 damage, we actually kill these things pretty quickly. You can see now we're attacking for 9. Tank a couple more hits. The lower your percent damage is, the more impact increasing it has on your overall damage output. So because the Masochist has quite low percent damage, and then increases it during the wave, you will end up with a pretty significant increase to your overall damage. Definitely taking additional luck. Consumable healing is really important to this character because you're going to be piled in in large groups of enemies all the time, so adding in additional luck to trigger additional consumable drops is really good. I'm just going to take 5 harvesting again, and then here I will take 9% speed. Our speed was negative, so it's nice to get that going a little more. Peaceful Bee, Metal, and Whetstone are all excellent. That does leave us with not enough to reroll, but that's fine. Whetstone, of course, increasing our lifesteal is still good, even though we have this native lifesteal. You could avoid buying lifesteal just because we already have the 45 or 50% from the scissors, but I think it's still pretty nice to just buy a little bit of it when it shows up efficiently, as in Whetstone. We will not be buying inefficient sources of lifesteal, but Whetstone is such a powerful item that I think it's worth buying anyways. You have to kind of overcome your instincts here and charge into the groups of enemies rather than trying to avoid them. Once you've built up a little damage, you can pass around them and start dodging a little more to regain some health. Notice that we're taking 4 damage per hit at this point, and that's going to just continue to continuously increase. We will definitely need to build our defensive stats up to survive more and more dangerous attacks. As the enemy damage instances become higher, it becomes harder and harder for us to survive. Here I'm just going to grab attack speed. That will increase our lifesteal significantly, as well, of course, as our damage. Buy the coupon, which is great. Another Peaceful Bee, sure. And again, while normally range is pretty good with scissors, we want to be on top of enemies most of the time anyways, so we're not going to worry about buying range here. Definitely buy this, and I'll buy this. Roll again. And another great set of items for us. We'll take the scissors. We will not take Gummy Berserker because we need to increase our armor really badly, but I will definitely buy both Wheat and Ritual. 2 more items that I mentioned as being quite high tier in terms of which ones you want to unlock. Alright. Managing my life. I like to go down to about like 2/3 health before I then start backing off, because you will often take a little bit of damage in the process of backing off. Just because of how dodging works. So you want to give yourself a little leeway to miss some of those dodges. Since you'll be piled into large groups of enemies, you need to make sure. that you have the opportunity to get away. Obviously, on this wave, we want to allow these guys to hatch because we're going to end up with very high damage. And when you let the eggs hatch, you get more money. Here we are going to reroll. I would take the max HP, but I think we can get something that's level 2, and I'll just take 8% damage here. I would also take the regeneration, but I think the damage is going to be better. Ugly Tooth we don't need on this character because, of course, we don't particularly need to slow enemies. I'm going to grab the Wheat and the Ritual, since we intend to get hit a bunch anyways. It is okay against elites, but not terribly important. You want, wherever possible, to take damage from the smaller enemies, so try to get hit by projectiles or the little aliens rather than the big chargers if you can. Those do less damage than the larger enemies. That being said, as long as our health and healing is keeping up with the waves, we're okay to just tank damage from anything. And keep taking damage as much as you can throughout the wave, as much as you can safely, because then you'll kill stuff faster. Of course, the faster you kill stuff, the more money you make. You can see we now have enough damage that we're clearing stuff pretty quickly, but it's this wave, because it's all high health enemies, we had a little bit of a hard time generating as much money as a normal character would. Here I'm just going to go with more attack speed, again really important to maintain our lifesteal, and I'll just take armor. Here we are going to pass on all of this. Let's keep rolling, definitely grabbing more scissors, and roll again, and I will take the warrior helmet and the alloy probably, because even though we do want to increase our dodge, the alloy 3 melee damage and 5 crit chance is still a quite valuable amount of income. That said, I'm going to grab the warrior helmet. Buying defensive stats on this character, normally if you have a choice between a defensive stat and an offensive stat as sort of your next purchase to make, like with these two items, we can only afford 2 of them, you want to err on the side of buying the offensive stat because it will help you clear things faster in the next wave. On this character, of course, defensive stats are offensive stats because they let you build your damage during the wave more recklessly. Because we have 3 additional armor and some extra HP, we can tank many more hits at the beginning of this wave safely and are able to get our damage rolling sooner. Especially on wave 9, it's really important to get your damage rolling early, since this is such a powerful farming wave for every character. In terms of building defensive stats, I think and regeneration and stuff, I think you really want both HP regeneration and lifesteal. Lifesteal will keep you alive on this character, although this build, of course, gets the lifesteal from the scissors, mostly. But the lifesteal will keep you alive while you're in a big group of enemies, and the HP regeneration will allow you to back off and regenerate. Lumberjack Shirt is particularly good on this character because it lets you kill trees that spawn early. So you can kill the tree even before you've taken hits and built up any damage. I'm going to recycle this barricade, and I'm going to just pick up more luck. Luck, like I mentioned, is really important because it allows you to generate consumable healing, which is going to be a big portion of your healing. Wave 9, I think it's not too late to take 10 harvesting over some level 3 options, or some level 2 options, but if those were even levels, I probably wouldn't have. I'm going to grab level 3 scissors, which you'll notice has 56% lifesteal, thanks to our 6% lifesteal. Grab this alloy and keep rolling. Ritual, again, great item, very efficient, and even though the lifesteal is less valuable on this character, still very much worth taking. And the more we increase our critical hit chance, the more we can benefit from later critical hit items that we might gain access to, such as Tentacle or Hunting Trophy. The glass cannon I am going to pass on. Even though it does increase our damage significantly, we really need to keep our armor very high in order to have a chance against these elites. I think you could get by the glass cannon, and it wouldn't be a huge mistake because it would mean that you need fewer hits. You can take fewer hits, but you also need fewer hits. But because we are intending to build percentage damage by taking hits anyways, percentage damage is less valuable on this character than it is on other characters. I'm going to take the leather vest, of course, and more armor from the duct tape. For only 50, I think it's worth taking. Not going to reroll on 25 because that's a pretty expensive reroll. The main thing we need at this point is going to be just more maximum HP before we fight the elite. Another thing to keep an eye out for, of course, when you're building scissors is the circular saw is just an upgraded scissors, so if we happen to roll any of those in the shops, then we need to make sure to buy them. If I've rolled past any, then I missed them and should have purchased them. Definitely walk down and kill this tree, and you can see that our damage is now incredibly high by the end of the wave because we were able to sustain so many hits. Every attack is now hitting for 50, critting for 100, which is pretty good for wave 10. Here we are just going to grab this armor. Vigilante ring, still really good. Medical turret also will allow us to maintain our HP, so I'm going to buy this. I will buy this. Cute monkey is kind of interesting, so this one will let us heal up pretty quickly, but we don't have good pickup range, so I think I'm going to actually pass on the cute monkey, even though we do need ways to heal. Obviously, Weird Ghost, while we do have the regeneration to sustain through to heal back up, that means longer that we are spending not taking hits, so it means longer that we are spending not building our damage. I'm definitely going to buy the Adrenaline and the Gentle Alien. We'll start with the Gentle Alien, lock the Adrenaline, and buy the cake. We start with the Gentle Alien because it increases the number of enemies, which will increase both the number of hits we're taking, really important for this character, and the amount of money that we gain from waves. Enemy number increases are good on every character, but especially for the Masochist, because you need to take hits from small enemies, so having more of those on the map is going to allow you to more easily build up your damage when it comes to fighting elites. I like to stay very central on this character and pull all the enemies to me, because that will mean that the material drops are all centralized, but it also means that if we do find ourselves taking a lot of damage, as I did just there, and needing to run away, we have a lot of space that we can move into that's relatively safe. So, because we can tank pretty safely, we can pull all the enemies to us and then move away from the big group of enemies rather than having to constantly dodge away from enemies. Consumable healing, super important, of course, and here I'm just going to go with max HP because we will need that as we're going into an elite wave. I'm going to buy both of these and this, and I will also buy a 57 for 1 armor. This is a pretty inefficient way to buy armor, but armor's so good on this character that I think it's worth buying anyways. And I'm definitely going to buy the head injury. That's basically 1 hit that we don't have to take during the next wave to get our damage up as high as we want it. So I'll tank 1 hit from the elite, but mostly we want to be building damage just because it was the only thing on the map. Mostly we want to be building damage by tanking hits from the other things and maintaining our spacing just outside of the elite range, taking hits from non-elite things that do less damage to us so that we can build up enough damage to kill the elite before the end of the wave. Unlike most characters, this character is going to do all its damage to the elite right at the end. Most of the time you want to front load your damage against elites. But of course we need to build up our damage, so if we want to kill the elite, we need to build up damage and then chase it down in the last like 10 or 15 seconds of the wave. It's looking like at our current pace of damage we won't quite have enough to finish it off, but I'm going to do my best here. Come on. Oh, we were so close. Oh, nice. Okay, I did get it right at the end. So I actually gave up breaking 2 trees for that, so I'm really glad I got that. And Night Goggles, not amazing, because we already have really good crit chance, but I'll still take it here. It does do a couple things that we don't want, reducing our HP and armor, but the 15% crit chance means we'll crit on like 50% of our attacks, so that's pretty good. Here, I'll just take 12 max HP, of course. Definitely taking the warrior helmet. I will take this regeneration for minus lifesteal, because our lifesteal will still be really good, and we want to build our regeneration up to about 50 or so it becomes really powerful. Gonna do that again. Roll again. Definitely not taking white flag here. One more reroll, see if we get anything. Really having some trouble finding stuff because we're rolling a lot of weapons we don't want, but I am going to throw in one more reroll here just to see if we can get anything else good. The Peaceful Bee, yeah, I think it's still worth buying at this point. I'm a little sad that we didn't really boost our power in this shop at all, but I'm going to save 100 rather than rerolling for 42. That would be such an expensive reroll. At this point, you can see that every hit we take is a pretty significant amount of damage. But our HP regen should be so high from our lifesteal and regeneration that we're okay to do that most of the time. Gonna back off just a little bit, let the turret and our natural lifesteal keep us alive. Or natural regeneration, rather. A little more attack speed certainly wouldn't go amiss, and something that we haven't found that is really good on this character would be really nice for us right now is a Tentacle, because we're a precise build, so Tentacle would definitely work to help keep us alive. Definitely buying more regeneration here, and here we're just going to go with more HP. Melee damage, yes, that's one of the ways we can increase our damage the most. Notice that our damage is actually only negative 58 right now, so we only need to take 12 hits to get back up to 0%, and then if we take, say, 20 hits, we're at a totally reasonable damage level. I'm going to buy the Peaceful Bee and the Dangerous Bunny and roll again. Spicy Sauce, not incredible for this character. We do have a decent amount of HP, but basically we're just buying 3 HP at the cost of 94. I think it's still worth it, even with our max HP being pretty good, but it's a pretty inefficient way to buy HP, so I just want to note that. I am going to throw in one more reroll here, and I'll grab this bag. And then, of course, we want Scissors and Mouse both. Let me build up a little damage. And then we're just going to kind of spiral around the elite, taking as many hits as we can from other things. Walking deliberately into a lot of these projectiles, because they don't do a lot of damage individually, and that will help us build up damage to fight the elite. Obviously, we want to fight it near our medical turret, if possible. And you still do want to try to avoid tanking hits from the elite specifically. Notice that for a lot of characters, wave 14 is a really difficult wave to fight elites on because... Yeah, I don't think we're going to have the damage for this one, unfortunately. Wave 14 is a really difficult wave to fight elites on because, as you can see from the screen becomes quite clogged with attacks. But for us, that makes it easier. That said, our damage on this version of the character is pretty low right now, so I wasn't quite able to build up enough damage to fight the elite. Definitely taking this regen, though. That will help a lot, and more armor. Mouse and Scissors, really good. Once we get these upgraded, and if we get a little more critical hit synergy, then we will have an easier time fighting elites. 10% attack speed for 163. I don't know if we want that. It does increase the speed of our medical turret. We could also take the shackles here. I think we're just going to roll past both of those and look for some more useful items for us. Right now we just want ways to increase our damage, mostly. I'll take tree, and I will take cute monkey, and I'll roll one more time. And power generator is a pretty good way to increase our damage once we start building speed, so I'll grab that, and I'll grab the leather vest. I'm not locking the spicy sauce, although we might buy it. At this point, though, I think our HP is good enough that we probably wouldn't buy it. Notice that after only taking a few hits, our damage is actually still just good enough to kill most of these enemies. Critting for 50, critting for 60, should be critting for 70 in a second here. It took a little bit longer just because we actually dodged a few times in a row, but... Once we're critting for 200 or so, we should be one-shotting most of these enemies, including the tentacles. And unlike most characters, we don't really care particularly about making sure to stop the goobers from spawning. We really don't mind the arena being full of projectiles. Projectiles do less damage than walking into enemies, so it's good to have projectiles on the map for this character because it gives you lower damage instances with which to build your damage. Definitely buying another mouse and leather vest, power generator. Any speed we buy is now % damage for us as well, and I mean, I guess I'll just buy a third mouse, sure. And we'll lock this compass because it's also 5% damage. Even though we do lose crit chance, we do want to increase our speed and damage, and of course, leather vest, still really excellent for this character. Because the enemies do such high damage instances this wave, thanks to the buffs, this is one of the more dangerous waves. And we do want, once we have built up a little bit of initial damage, we want to chase down the buffing aliens so that the enemies are not receiving so many buffs. The buff increases the enemy damage dealt, I think doubles it or increases it by 50%. So it really can help them break through your armor and your regeneration if they're receiving a lot of these buffs. And if we take too many buffed instances of damage, especially from the big chargers, at once, we could definitely run out of health. So it's really important to chase down the brain bugs and kill them. You can see that our HP is spiking down every time I get hit by one of those chargers. Here I am going to just recycle this. 10 harvesting at this point, not particularly helpful, and attack speed definitely really good for us right now. Take this and take this. Do I want this damage? Yeah, probably I still want the damage, and I'll roll again. Hunting trophy, I think we'll still have time to pay for itself, so I'm going to buy this since we are a critical hit build. And let's combine and buy another scissors and roll again. No other scissors, and Estes couch, of course, is really bad, especially with the power generator, but also just a really bad item in general. Have to find an enemy so I can start taking some hits. And then we need to chase that guy down so that each hit is less painful. The ribcage guys also do high damage instances, so they are going to be a little bit harder for you to tackle than some of the other enemies in this wave. But wave 17 shouldn't be too bad. Typically, the waves that feature a whole bunch of one enemy are harder than the waves that feature a diverse array of enemies, because how you typically lose in Brotato is the enemies overwhelm one of your ways of dealing with them. Either they are too healthy for you to kill all of them, or they are too damaging for you to resist all their attacks. And that's more likely if the enemies are doubling down on one kind of enemy rather than having a different group. So while we want to build sort of a diversity of defensive and offensive strategies, if you were playing as the enemies, then you would want to send all of the same type at us to attack us. Definitely Silver Bullet is good here, just fewer damage instances we have to take to be able to kill this elite, which we do still hope to do, of course. And buy the scissors, buy the muscly dude, buy the scissors, roll again. And at this point, I think it's okay to take the glass cannon, but I think we will get more damage out of the wheat right now, because we are going to be increasing our damage, our percent damage so much that multiplying the melee damage. And of course, we do get 10 harvesting. That's not super important. Oh, here's a circular saw as well. I should actually pay attention to that. I may have rolled past some previously. So this has blade and medical rather than precise and medical, so it is slightly different, but it does 22 damage as opposed to 19 and has way better lifesteal. It's also got a better, like a faster attack rate and a better attack pattern, so you usually want to use circular saw. We do lose some crit chance, but we did buy some crit chance, so I'm going to pick this up because I think it will be the thing that actually helps us kill the elite the most and lock these two. Took a hit there, now just walking back into some of these smaller enemies, and we're going to circle the elite, try to make sure to kill the brain bugs as well. Because if too many of the little helmet guys get buffed, that could be a real problem for us. When I'm in a big group of enemies like that, I am making certain to watch my HP in the top left. So you can see, I took a bunch of damage, we back off for a minute, heal back up. Kill that loot alien, take a bunch of hits. Now, do we have the damage to kill this elite? This guy has somehow trapped himself in the corner. Bad play by the elite, because it means we can sit on him constantly damaging. But actually a little annoying for me, because I'm having to try to see what's happening, which is not easy. Alright, we got him right at the end. Took out that tree as well. And yeah, I'll take bait for sure. Grind's Magical Leaf, I mean, I guess we'll take it. It will only activate once, but 3 HP is 3 HP. And Spider is really good as well. We get 12% attack speed from it because we have 2 different weapon types. Taking this and this and this, and rolling again. And I will take Injection as well. Again, just less damage instances we have to take to get our damage up high. Now our damage is actually starts positive, so we actually just have really good damage on this character in addition to all of our bonuses. And then I am going to roll once more. Here's another circular saw, which we'll buy. I'll definitely buy this tree, and we'll go to wave 19. Taking a bunch of damage from the bait aliens, which you will do anyways. It's pretty hard not to take damage from them, but of course that also, the bait has particular synergy with this character because it lets you take a ton of damage instances right off the start of the wave, which means of course that you're going to be doing more damage for the rest of the wave. Once you have a ton of enemy spawns and are attacking really frequently, the audio for taking a hit sometimes stops playing, which does sometimes throw me off. So that's something to watch out for. Make sure that you are getting the audio for your damage instances, or not relying on the audio for your damage instances in those really crowded situations. We'll take this percent damage, and I will recycle this. Yeah, I'm going to buy bait even though we are going into the boss wave. On most characters you wouldn't do this, but this character in particular wants to. And we'll take HP, and speed is the same as damage for us right now. We'll buy the Gentle Alien, we will combine scissors and buy a second circular saw. Roll again, and blood donation is still good to pick up here because each tick, this of course just like the bull, each tick of blood donation is going to increase our damage. If we'd gotten this earlier, it would have been better, of course, because the harvesting would have done something. But just taking 1 damage a second is a massive bonus on this character. So we're going to grab that. We'll take this, keep rolling, take this, and roll again. Sure, a little more HP. Keep on rolling. Riposte, pretty good. Our dodge is 30%, so it's going to end up dealing a decent amount of damage. We'll take the defective steroids as well. Broken mouth, and then There's nothing else that we're going to be able to afford, so sure, I'll take the baby gecko. Maybe it matters. We do have a cute monkey, two cute monkeys, so pulling materials to us will heal us, so there's some synergy there. Final... Also, just it's worth noting that the circular saw level 3 has done 31,000 damage, as opposed to the scissors, which have done sort of in the 15 to 18,000 range, so that's why I suggest swapping to this weapon when you see it, if you are in a medical build. Because we have the blood donation, we can just focus on attacking the elites right away. We don't have to focus at all on taking hits. I'm kind of glad we didn't find it until the end, though, because it lets me show it off, but also show that you do not need to find it in order to win with this character. This, I think, is one of the best characters in the game, one of the strongest. So even without blood donation, which you might think, oh, we need to get that, you can still win quite easily with this character. Alright, and so we built up enough damage, and we killed the bosses, and that is the Masochist. Thank you for watching, my friends. I hope that you have enjoyed this video, and as always, if you have, you can, of course, support the channel in numerous ways by leaving a like on the video, subscribing to the channel, leaving a comment, which the algorithm really cares about comments, and I read and reply to every comment, so I really appreciate receiving them. And you can join me next time for more of this and other strategy game content. As always, my friends, thank you for watching, and GG.